He was the youngest Cartwright, the one every teenage girl wrote to. Born Eugene Maurice Orowitz in Queens, New York in 1936, he took the stage name Michael Landon and, at just 22, stepped onto the Ponderosa. For 14 years, from 1959 to 1973, he played Joseph Little Joe Cartwright, the hot-headed romantic baby of the family. He received more fan mail than any other cast member, and negotiated with the producers to write and direct some episodes himself. That was the real beginning. Little Joe was only the doorway. Landon went on to create and star in Little House on the Prairie, then Highway to Heaven, becoming one of the most powerful men in television. Then came the diagnosis. In the spring of 1991, doctors found pancreatic cancer that had already spread to his liver and stomach. He faced it publicly, with humor, promising to fight. Sadly, Michael Landon passed away on July 1, 1991, at the age of 54. Little Joe still gallops across the Ponderosa every afternoon in reruns. Forever young, forever reckless. She would later say she had been on nearly every show on television in the 1960s, and she meant it. In 1964, she turned up on the Ponderosa, one appearance among dozens, playing Tai Li, a fiery mail-order bride who arrives from China after Hoss tries to order fireworks. The episode was called A Pink Cloud Comes from Old Cathay. She was still a young actress then, filling in and chasing her national breakthrough. It arrived 2 years later. As Anne-Marie on That Girl, she became a symbol of the independent modern woman, then built something even larger with the children's classic Free to Be, You and Me. She played Rachel's mother on Friends for a whole generation who never knew her Western past, and through it all she carried her father's cause, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Today, Marlo Thomas is 88 years old, and still very much a public figure. The philanthropist, the pioneer, the daughter who kept a promise. Her one afternoon in Virginia City is a small footnote in a very large life. He was the mountain at the center of the family, the gentle giant everyone loved. Dan Blocker played Eric Hoss Cartwright, the middle son, big-shouldered and soft-hearted, the comic soul and the moral compass of the Ponderosa across 14 seasons. Nobody did tenderness on horseback quite like him. Hoss was not the most conventionally handsome Cartwright, but he was the heart and the humor of the whole show. Then, without warning, everything changed. In May of 1972, after routine gallbladder surgery, a blood clot traveled to his lung. Tragically, Dan Blocker passed away in 1972 at the age of 43 from a pulmonary embolism. The loss was so profound that the writers did something almost unheard of. His character was killed off the show, and his death struck the series so hard that Bonanza lasted only one more season. The heart had gone out of it. Hoss remains the warmest figure the Western ever produced, a big man remembered entirely for his kindness. He was a working child actor long before the Ponderosa, the voice behind the cartoon adventurer Johnny Quest. During the final season of Bonanza, in 1972 and 1973, Tim Matheson played Griff King, a paralee trying to reform his life as a ranch hand under Ben Cartwright's watchful eye. It was a 9-episode run near the very end. Most viewers, though, would come to know him from something far rowdier. In 1978, he played the smooth-talking Eric Otter Stratton in National Lampoon's Animal House, a role that made him a comedy fixture. Then came the serious turn, an Emmy-nominated performance as Vice President John Hoynes on The West Wing. He became a prolific director too, quietly steering episode after episode of prestige television. In recent years, a whole new audience found him on the hit Netflix drama Virgin River. Still directing and acting well into his 70s, Tim Matheson is alive today at the age of 78. 6 decades in, the boy from the Ponderosa's last season never really stopped working. He was the voice, the beard, the steady center of it all. Ben Cartwright, patriarch of the Ponderosa, thrice a widower, father to 3 sons. Lorne Greene starred in every single episode of Bonanza, the former sailor who heads west to build a new life. For 14 years, his calm authority anchored the whole enterprise. Born in Ottawa in 1915, he had been a respected radio broadcaster in Canada before Hollywood ever called. In the 1960s, he leaned into his Ben Cartwright fame recording folk albums, and in 1964 scored a #1 single with the spoken-word ballad, Ringo. When the ranch finally closed, he found another family to lead. He became Commander Adama, the grave patriarch of Battlestar Galactica. Then his health began to fail. Sadly, Lorne Greene passed away on September 11, 1987 at the age of 72 from complications of pneumonia. Years later, TV Guide would name Ben Cartwright the second most beloved television father of all time. That warm, unshakable voice is the sound of the West itself. Before the sequins and the Vegas marquee, he was a young man with a big voice and a farmer's dream. Wayne Newton played Andy Walker, a young ranch hand, in 2 1966 episodes of Bonanza. One of them, The Unwritten Commandment, hit close to home. His character longs to become a singer to the displeasure of his farmer father. Art imitating life, because Newton was already climbing. His recording of Don Quixote had reached the top 100 in 1963. From there he rose to become Mr. Las Vegas himself. He has performed in Las Vegas since 1958, and headlined since 1963. One of the best-known entertainers the city ever produced. Esquire once called him the biggest moneymaker in the history of Vegas, drawing crowds week in and week out that not even Elvis or Sinatra could match. Now 84 years old, Wayne Newton is still with us. The Midnight Idol, forever tied to the desert lights, once stood on a dusty Cartwright set dreaming out loud. He was the thinking man's Cartwright, the eldest and the most restless. Pernell Roberts played Ben's urbane, university-educated eldest son Adam, an architectural engineer, unlike his rougher brothers. He was on the show from 1959 to 1965, and no one wore a black hat with more gravity, but the role chafed at him. He had high hopes for what he could bring to Bonanza, and grew deeply frustrated with the limits placed on his character. In a move all of Hollywood thought would end his career, he walked away from the biggest Western on television. On set, he had also protested the use of all-white crews and guest stars, a principled stand that defined him. For years, the industry seemed to prove the doubters right. Then, in 1979, redemption arrived. He found fame all over again as the title surgeon on Trapper John, M.D., a hit that ran until 1986. Diagnosed with cancer in 2007, sadly, Pernell Roberts passed away on January 24, 2010, at the age of 81. He was the last of the Cartwrights to leave us. He arrived on the Ponderosa a red-headed boy, the last child the Cartwrights ever took in. Mitch Vogel joined Bonanza at 14 as the orphaned teen Jamie Hunter, later adopted by Ben in the season 13 episode, A Home for Jamie. He was the youngest member of the family in the show's final years. He came in already carrying a serious resume. He had appeared in Yours, Mine, and Ours with Lucille Ball and Henry Fonda, then earned a Golden Globe nomination for Steve McQueen's The Rivers. After The Ranch, he followed Landon to Little House on the Prairie. Then the work gave way to a quieter calling. In 1978, Vogel left acting behind and became a professional musician. No scandal, no downfall, just a man who chose a different life. He has never stopped cherishing where he came from. He continues to speak fondly of his time on the show. Grateful, he has said, that Bonanza touched people the way it did. At 70, Mitch Vogel is alive today, the last surviving Cartwright son. The boy who found a family on television grew into its final keeper. He was the man who fed the whole Ponderosa, the sharp-tongued heart of the Cartwright kitchen. Victor Sen Yung is remembered as Hop Sing, the irascible cook and general factotum, appearing in 107 episodes of Bonanza between 1959 and 1973. He was there from the very first episode to the last. Long before the ranch, he had another life on screen. He made his name in 1938 as Jimmy Chan, the detective's #2 son in the Charlie Chan films. His years were not without terror. In 1972, he was aboard a hijacked airliner, shot in the lower back when the FBI stormed the plane. He survived, though 2 hijackers and a passenger did not. He was also a gifted chef who published a cookbook. Then his end came quietly and cruelly. Victor Sen Yung died in his North Hollywood home in 1980 of gas poisoning from a leak while curing pottery in an oven. Tragically, his body was discovered on November 9, 1980. He was 65. At his funeral, his old castmate Pernell Roberts gave the eulogy and paid the expenses. She kept coming back to the Ponderosa and never as the same woman twice. Mariette Hartley holds the unusual distinction of playing 4 different characters on Bonanza, appearing in 4 episodes between 1965 and 1971, falling in love with a different man each time. She once laughed that she felt like Alice in Wonderland, dropping into a strange new world with every visit. Her craft ran far deeper than guest spots. She had debuted in Sam Peckinpah's Ride the High Country and worked for Alfred Hitchcock in Marnie. She appeared most recently in series like Law and Order, SVU, The Mentalist, and 911. But her most lasting work may be off camera. She's been an outspoken advocate for mental health, speaking openly about bipolar disorder. That courage came from a wound. Her own father had ended his life by his own hand in 1963. A private grief she eventually turned into public purpose. Now 86 years old, Mariette Hartley is still with us. The woman of 100 roles who chose, in the end, to tell the truth. He was already a swashbuckling star when he rode onto the Ponderosa, television's dashing Zorro. In 1964, Guy Williams returned to Hollywood and joined the cast of Bonanza as Ben's nephew, Will Cartwright. It was meant to be his big second act. He was written out after 5 episodes despite being slated as a permanent lead, brought in to replace Adam once Pernell Roberts planned to leave. Fans wrote in demanding the original Cartwrights. The producers held Roberts to his contract and Will was gone. Williams landed on his feet, becoming the father on Lost in Space. Then Hollywood cooled, and he found his greatest adoration abroad. Through the 1970s, he worked and was revered in Argentina, retiring in Buenos Aires, where he died of a ruptured brain aneurysm. He spent his final days alone. His body was found on May 6, 1989, though he had been gone for days. Tragically, Guy Williams passed away around April 30, 1989, at the age of 65. In Argentina, they still speak his name like a legend. He was the law in Virginia City, the steady badge the Cartwrights could always call on. In 1960, Ray Teal was cast as Sheriff Roy Coffey, a role he played until 1972, appearing in 98 episodes. He was one of the show's most durable faces, the sheriff who kept order while the family sorted out its troubles. Bonanza was only a fraction of his enormous career. Across a 40-year run, he appeared in more than 300 shows and films, playing dozens of sheriffs and lawmen. He turned up in classics. His credits include The Best Years of Our Lives, Billy Wilder's Ace in the Hole, and Judgment at Nuremberg. By all accounts, the man who so often played scowling hard cases was nothing like them. The biggest irony of his career, colleagues said, was that Teal himself was a very nice man. Ray Teal passed away in Santa Monica on April 2, 1976, at age 74, of natural causes. Sheriff Coffey still keeps the peace, reliable as ever whenever the Ponderosa rides again. He came to the Ponderosa not as a son but as a friend the family trusted like one. Bonanza's creator saw David Canary in the film Hombre and cast him as the new ranch foreman, Candy Canaday. He played the role from 1967 to 1970, then returned from 1972 to 1973. A former college football star, he nearly took a very different path. During a 1967 contract dispute involving Leonard Nimoy, Canary was seriously considered as a replacement for Mr. Spock on Star Trek. Instead, daytime television made him a legend. On All My Children, he played identical twins Adam and Stuart Chandler for decades, winning 5 Daytime Emmy Awards. Then his memory began to slip away. He had been diagnosed with dementia years before the end. Sadly, David Canary passed away on November 16, 2015, at the age of 77, of natural causes. Candy was never a Cartwright by blood, yet he became so beloved that fans still count him among the family. He was the deputy who backed the sheriff, a familiar face on the edge of every Virginia City showdown. Bing Russell is best known as Deputy Clem Foster on Bonanza. From 1961 to 1973, he appeared in 55 episodes. Born in Vermont in 1926, he carried 2 lifelong loves through everything he did. Bing Russell had 2 passions, acting and baseball. The second one made him a genuine American original. He owned the Portland Mavericks, the only independent team in their minor league. He kept a 30-man roster because he believed some of those players deserved one last season. But his most enduring legacy walks and talks and stars in movies to this day. Bing Russell was the father of the actor Kurt Russell. The two even worked together, most memorably in the 1979 film Elvis. Bing played Vernon Presley to his son Kurt's King of Rock and Roll. Sadly, Bing Russell passed away of cancer on April 8, 2003 in Thousand Oaks, California, at the age of 76. The Quiet Deputy gave the movies one of its biggest stars and never needed the credit. What connects these people is a single ranch that became a second home to a country. Some were Cartwrights by name, and some just passed through Virginia City for an episode or two, but every one of them left a mark on the Ponderosa that time hasn't erased. Which of these stories touched you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you love uncovering the real lives behind the golden age of the television Western, do not forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more. Thank you for watching.